It is officially Red October in Philadelphia as the MLB playoffs start today. The Phillies, though, get some time off. We're going to talk about the week next here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. Hello and happy Tuesday to all out there. Welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. Jamie Lynch, Renee Washington, Tyler Zulli with you. And it feels weird to say, but the MLB playoffs are here. This year has flown by, Renee, and we're in Red October. We're shifting into soup mode.
Red October, Red October. I cannot believe this. September flew by. We were just talking about school starting, my birthday, Labor Day, all the things that September brought. And here we are, already into October. This past weekend was like a pinch me moment. It was a crazy, crazy weekend to end the season. But it also was the reminder, it's October. I've started bringing out jackets. I know you're still in shorts and flip-flops. I started bringing out jackets.
Flip-flops for another month at least.
Okay.
But the quarter zip is out. You've occasionally seen me in some hoodies.
That's your fall wear.
That's my fall wear, yeah.
Totally different. Yeah. I'm in light jacket.
And we have a full office here today. Had I known we were in a full office, I might have put some pants on. But I didn't. And here we are. It's Red October, still in shorts. Woo! There's a chill in the air. And the Phillies, I'm going to start with the kind of just vibe check of us all here. Am I allowed to say vibe as a non
Yeah, I mean, I was
north of 25-year-old?
I was letting you rock. I was letting you cook. Vibe away.
How we all feel, because I actually feel really, really good. The doubts of years past, Game 6 and 7 of the NLCS last year, I've blocked out of my mind. I'm not going to allow them to dictate my enjoyment of this upcoming week, this upcoming round, and how good this team is. This team is good. When Rob Thompson said, this is the best team I've managed here, that's no BS. I mean, when you look at this bullpen, it could be, maybe should be Cy Young winner kicking off a series for you. And the high-priced talent you have in this lineup, it's hard not to feel really good. So I'm at the point now where I don't really care who we play. I think the Phillies have a great chance to do it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. How are you feeling?
Okay, so I definitely can. First of all, if you had told me start of October that the Phillies would have had the season that they did, I would have never believed you.
And before you keep going, Renee, I have to remind the people, it is Red October, and we're brought to you by Ace Hardware Home Services. Visit acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. But that honey-do list that my wife's always giving me, that's going to have to wait till after the playoffs. How are you feeling about it, Renee? Continue on.
Yeah, I just love the fact that we're here, and I love the fact that this group has been tested. And I think, when you look at the end of the season, going 4-6 in their last 10, going 500 exactly after the All-Star break. Some could look at that and say, I'm concerned. I actually look at that and say they got all the tests out the way. They got all the challenges. They haven't had this smooth run to the playoffs. It's been a very up and down season.
Adversity can be good. Yeah.
Adversity can be good. And I know they were talking about Dave Nebraska, and there were different comments about you can't flip the switch. And as Larry Bowa's mantra is you can't flip the switch. But I feel like this group can. I feel like this group is ready. I feel like they've got the depth. They've got the pieces. And I'm not optimistic or pessimistic. I'm just anything can happen, and I'm ready for whatever. I'm just open. Whatever is thrown this way that we have to endure over the next couple weeks.
Okay, not negative, not positive.
I'm just going into it with zero expectations, good or bad, of it's October. Anything and everything that can happen will happen. And I'm expecting all the craziest, all the worst, all the best, the highs, the lows. So I feel like I'm just trying to go into it very open-minded.
The playoffs are an emotional roller coaster. Tyler, as we sit here on Tuesday before our team has to play baseball, and they get to put their feet up and relax this week as a lot of teams are going to be playing.
I got to figure out this renovation thing before we start the show.
How are you feeling about the Phillies' chances entering the playoffs
Yeah,
now?
so Renee, I think you and I were doing a post-game show one night, and you asked a question along the lines of, is this team built for a stretch run, or could they be eliminated in the first round? And I said,
both
I
are
think
possible.
I think both. I think they're two distinctly different answers. Like, could the bats go cold and they get eliminated in a DS? Sure, they absolutely could. I'm banking on this pitching staff. I think this is a really, really good pitching staff. I believe this to be the best pitching staff of this stretch run, and I don't believe it's particularly
Are you talking
close.
starters or
All of it? All of it. The
All right.
bullpen is significant. I think the bullpen is the second best bullpen in the postseason this year.
I think it's their biggest attribute.
I do too, and I think the only bullpen that's better than them across all of postseason baseball is Cleveland. That is buoyed a lot by Clase is incredible, but like the rest of the guys are crazy too. This team is built to make a run. Could you see a cold October? Sure, you could. I think you could. I believe this team is going to have success in the postseason. What does that translate to? I think they're getting to at least the NLCS. I do believe they're going to win the DS. After that, it becomes really fun baseball with the final 4 teams remaining. Do I feel good? I do. I feel really, really good.
I love that you guys are. I love that you put it very specific on it. Like I really feel like this team can win the World Series, or they can be swept in the first round. Be swept in the NLDS.
I believe that.
Either way, like
but I still feel good.
Like that's the thing. I don't feel nervous. I'm excited. I'm not nervous, but I'm also just like, this could be anything. I know in the chat, I want to give some love really quickly, Jamie. We've got Rochelle Ring the Bell Ritzik, who made a live. Finally, nice to have you here. Also, I know everybody's talking about the Mets, Braves, Diamondbacks. We'll get there. Don't you worry. And all the excitement for Red October. I don't know if anybody else in the chat has any thoughts on predictions of what you think is going to happen for the Phillies, but I feel like we're all in a similar space.
It came from me and my college buddies. There's like 9 of us on a text chain. And guess what? We talk about sports a lot. Yeah. And there's Yankees fans in there. There's some Mets fans in there. There's Red Sox fans. But anyway, the smack talk has picked up. And my one buddy, Dave, I'll call him out, he's a Phillies fan, said he doesn't want the Mets. And I kind of said, like, I don't really care who we play.
I don't care.
Because I think the biggest enemy the Phillies have is themselves. Because I think this team, top to bottom, roster construction-wise, all of it, bullpen being the biggest attribute, a Cy Young winner on the mound, an MVP in the middle of your lineup, you have as good a chance as anybody. And I think the reality is they're a really good baseball team, and baseball justice, I kind of feel like, is on their side.
There's a difference between saying you think they can beat a team and saying you don't want a team. Like in that series,
I don't care about the Mets.
I would prefer the Phillies to play the Brewers. I think the Mets are better than the Brewers right now.
But I just don't care. I think the Phillies' biggest obstacle is themselves.
It's probably themselves, right? Like, and like I said, I want nothing to do with San Diego. I've been saying this for a while. I think they're a really good team. Could San Diego lose to
Atlanta?
They're going to beat the Dodgers.
We'll see them in the NLCS.
But I believe that if the Padres get out of the wild card, I think they're going to the NLCS.
So do I.
But like, listen, you're gonna have to play a good baseball team at some point. It's the postseason.
Everybody you're gonna have to beat is gonna be good.
I am not the one to be like, oh, I'd rather have this team in the playoffs versus that. Yes, there are better matchups when you look at starting pitching, bullpen, offensive production. There's obviously better on paper matchups, but I know the guys are talking about it. Nick Castellanos and Bryce Harper, different Phillies players, right? And it's something I would say. It doesn't matter when you get to the playoffs. Your results, your records, anything you did in the last 162 games literally does not matter. It's about winning the next game and keeping your season alive. And it comes down to who has a team built to be able to win a best of 3 for the first round teams, a best of 5, a best of 7. And I think the Phillies, when you look at that part of it, can anybody beat them? Yes, but can you beat them on a best of 5 series? That's when it gets difficult. Best of 7, that's when it gets even more challenging. So I feel like that's one of the benefits for the Phillies that has me very open of like, this can be a World Series team. They've got the ability to have so many starting pitching. The starting pitching's there. All the pieces are there. And when you look at other opponents, they aren't. I know in the chat, Rochelle's feeling like if we play the Brewers, the Phillies are going to win.
Rochelle.
But if the Phillies play the Mets, that the Mets are going to win. Interesting. Stephen Garrison,
you're saying. Do either of you know Rochelle references? Tell me I'm not.
Oh, it's a show. I mean, it's a song. I mean, it's a movie.
I know.
No, I feel like I actually legitimately know it.
It's one of the biggest TV shows of all time.
Yes.
It's a fake movie in Seinfeld.
Yes, I do know it.
A one woman's erotic journey from Milan to Minsk.
I didn't watch Seinfeld though, and we've talked about that. I'm not a Seinfeld fan.
Sorry, continue on with your
but
chats.
I do know Rochelle. I just didn't know where it was from. Steven Garrison is saying the Mets are playing like the 2022 Phillies right now. They are a team that's had a very big surge in the last part of the season.
They'll S their pants.
Again, the playoffs are a different breed. Not everybody's. You got to be built differently to handle the playoff pressure, and I think the Phillies are ready.
It's going to be an emotional roller coaster starting on Saturday.
Would you guys like the 2024 championship chances based by Fangraph?
Yeah, I would, Tyler, because I feel good about what the Phillies are going to output here.
So the Phillies lead Major League Baseball with an 18.4% chance to win the World Series. They're followed by the Dodgers at 17%. The Yankees are at 16.6%. The Astros are at 10.1%. Then it goes to Padres, Braves, Guardians, Orioles, Brewers, Royals, Mets, Tigers at 2.4%.
That's great. And it's why I feel great. I mean, it's all there. You just got to go win it now.
I don't disagree with Rochelle.
It's the Phillies to win and to lose. I do feel like they are going to be their own enemy. And if they go out and take care of business, I know, Mickey, you're saying you don't give two craps about any other team or winning this trophy and getting hammered on Broad Street. Yeah, it's the Phillies to win, honestly. Yeah. Like, they are the best team. They've got the depth. They've got the pieces. They just got to go out and do it. Yeah,
so, I just wanted to start there, how everybody was feeling. That's kind of our temperature check. I guess we can credit that to Ace Hardware. Home services there. All right, before we get into Zach Wheeler, and obviously we're going to talk about the game starting today. We're going to talk about the Mets-Braves game yesterday, all that good stuff, because yesterday was pretty damn cool. Wow. I do want to talk about the Phillies week ahead here. So yesterday was an off day for the Phils. Get off your feet, go enjoy your family, yada, yada, yada. Today, it's a workout day. Wednesday, they are doing an intra-squad scrimmage at CBP with walk-up music, 4 umpires, lights, scoreboard, full deal, trying to simulate a game situation there. Pretty cool, kind of weird. There's no way for it to feel normal. All you can do is try and make it feel normal. There's no way to duplicate what a anxiety, pressure, a full ballpark. I mean, it's the right thing to do. We mocked the Braves last year for doing it. It is weird for the players to do that. You know what I mean? So while it's good physically to go through the motions and all that, mentally, it's just odd.
I just feel like, I know in the chat, Steven Garrison was asking about fans being loud. I feel like, why not open that up?
It would be cool. Didn't the Braves
The Braves did it with some fans, but I feel
was it like season ticket holders or something?
Yeah, like I feel like for the Phillies, you would have a full packed house.
It would sell
44,000. Yeah, it would literally sell out. And you would now get that loud energy. Of course, everybody would be cheering, but it doesn't matter. You still get the loud energy, and the Citizens Bank Park would be rocking if they did that. I don't know if it's maybe like logistics, security,
it's
other reasons.
Just not worth
to have to actually put all that together. But that would be really good instead of having a simulated
thing. Right?
I know.
Like, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. Like,
because
walking up with Dan Baker announcing you and your walk-up song playing, and it's just like empty, and there's no vibe, and there's no pressure and intensity of the playoff.
If I were playing, if I were a bullpen guy, I would just like walk around the concourse, sit in a seat. Yeah, Casti.
Yeah, but I do feel like it's such a competitive group. We even saw how their competitions that they've had, like the golf one for fantasy football draft, like all the little things they've done.
And they said JT was the best golfer on the
which
team.
Is no surprise. I feel like
guy's just good at everything.
We know that regardless, they're going to compete as if this was, you want to win. I'm sure there's something on the line here of wanting to win your inter-squad game. It's just different because I feel like in any other sport, when you have a scrimmage or an inter-squad game, it actually drastically helps. Baseball is one that
it's just weird.
It's just so weird. Like we would do inter-squad games all the time for soccer, and it would really prepare you, get to open up your legs, play the whole field, get some 11v11 action in. But for baseball, that's not the case.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Then Thursday and Friday are going to be optional workout days. You just said we know what kind of workers these guys are. That tells me, Renee, that they're all going to be there. Now, they're going to try and have the workout and practice, or whatever you want to call it. They said it's up to individuals how they want to get in the cage, what machine they want to face. Do they want to face live pitching? Basically, it's their option. Yeah. But they are going to try and hold those practices at the same game time of Saturday. So, if they're, I would imagine Saturday night, the Phillies are probably a primetime spot. I don't know if that means they're going to be having the practice at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Because that would be a little weird, but they'll probably do it later in the afternoon. So that's the Phillies week ahead here. And, if you perhaps want to get tickets, you struck out on the lottery for tickets like I did, maybe you can check out the Game Time app this postseason. The Game Time app is awesome. I've told you about it for over a year now. And whether it's concerts, comedy, sports, Game Time always has got you covered. And you right now can start using the Game Time app with our code PHLY. You can get $20 off your first purchase. When I was out at Wrigley Field this year, I was worried about the old school stadium and blocked views and obstruction. Boom, just pull up the seat finder. I can see exactly what my seat location is and what my sight lines are. You can do all sorts of stuff with Game Time. Game Time gives you the all-in pricing, so you're not going to get a price hike of like $25 extra at the end. You'll know from the start what your pricing is. They have the lowest price guarantee, or they'll credit you 110% of the difference, and those playoff tickets get expensive. So make sure you're utilizing that this postseason. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time!
Wow, that was intense.
That's a playoff Game Time.
That was.
Yeah.
Like, you really locked in on that one.
I always think of Terry Tate what time?
Okay.
Whose house is it?
Oh.
Like that.
Okay.
Who?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Dogs
really raising the bar there.
It's Red October.
It is Red October. We are raising the bar, and it's time for you to raise the bar on how you are purchasing and checking out new flooring with Empire today. Because when you go to find and try to buy new floors, it's difficult. There are thousands of options to choose from. It can become very overwhelming, and it's also difficult just to know what makes most sense for your house. You're looking at the price, you're looking at the color, the design, the texture, all the little details and logistics, and then also just trying to figure out who can I even go to that can quickly and professionally install my floors. Well, with Empire today, they provide you with all the coverage that you need to get the ability to shop at home, the convenience, the right products for your needs, as well as quick and professional installation and a price match guarantee. So with Empire today, some of the benefits. They've got their virtual floor designer, which allows you to snap a picture of whatever room you're looking to buy new flooring for and to see what the new flooring would look like in that space. So without even leaving your house, you get to shop. You get the ability to see how's that new carpet going to look? How's that hardwood? How's that linoleum going to match in my room? Easy peasy lemon squeezy, like that, Jamie. And also get to check out the new floors in your space. You also get the opportunity to have, in addition to the convenience, you have the customer support. They're going to make sure to advise you and point you in the right direction to find the right product for your needs. Again, there's thousands of options when it comes to choosing new flooring. And with Empire today, they want to find the best fit for you. So they're going to make sure, rather than overwhelming you, that their great customer support is going to give you advice, point you in the right direction, show you some different samples, and get you shopping for the right flooring for your needs. So their philosophy is to find you what you need, not to overwhelm you with all their thousands of options, to make sure that you're getting a selection that is going to fit best for your family, for your home. So with Empire today, their team does a tremendous job of helping to comb through all the product samples to find what works for you. And then they want to make sure to get you that professional installation as well. So with the opportunity today, you can schedule a free in-home estimate. All listeners also can get $350 off as a discount when you use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions to apply, and go head over to empiretoday.com/PHLY for more details.
And welcome back in, if you're just joining us, to the PHLY Phillies postseason edition podcast here, brought to you by our friends over at Ace Hardware Home Services. Head to acehardwarehomeservices.com to find out more. The reason I mention Ace again is, Renee, because my wife just texted me that the curtains are coming home today.
Yay.
Did I know we were getting new curtains? Not really. And I said, excuse me, for what room again? And I genuinely don't know the question to that. So the chances of me making a trip to Ace Hardware store this week are probably quite high.
It's Red October, Jamie. She was looking out for you, and she knew you don't need to be involved in curtain discussion.
She's going to say, you're going to hang these before Saturday's game because I know your life will be chaos.
Exactly. So it's a win. I like it.
Yeah. Really,
bonus points for her.
Really exciting stuff. Can't wait to hang curtains. Okay, so the Phillies week ahead, we just covered there. Couple quotes I wanted to read you about their mindset, and then there's some stats and info about teams with these days off. Nick Castellanos, in speaking to Scott Lauber of the Inquirer, he kind of is like taking over team spokesperson a lot.
Yes,
like he was on Intentional Talk the other day. I've seen him doing kind of the media rounds. I think just because it doesn't bother him, because he's just like Castellanos chill and like whatever. This is what he had to say to Scott Lauber about the week. I would just say, even though you're not playing games, just be locked in on the work you're doing, right? Don't just be so happy and go lucky and think these things as 5 days as a vacation per se, rather than some downtime. Still remain focused and concentrate on whatever it is that we have scheduled that day. Trey Turner, in talking to Todd Zulli of MLB.com, said, I think it's just an excuse if you want it to be. Turner has said about postseason layoffs, it's a good time to rest if you want it to be. It's whatever you want it to be, really. So that's kind of their mindset is, be responsible, be an adult, do your work, but do what's best for you individually. Inter squad scrimmage aside, it's more talking about today, Thursday and Friday, when it's just kind of up to you what you want to work on and how you want to prepare and get ready for this.
Yeah, I think the key is for them, as Rob Thompson was talking about, they got through the regular season healthy. We had some scares at the end. Aaron Nola, we're looking at you. They got to the end of the regular season healthy, and now these guys have, first of all, they've already been preparing for a first-round bye. As we had talked about since back in May when they took over the NL and were the top team in the league overall, they've been at the top of the league, and they've been preparing knowing we are in a really good position to get a first-round bye. That's a goal of ours. They wanted that. We all wanted that. So with that comes the maturity of knowing, yes, there are some hiccups, and I know we have the numbers of first-round statistics of just how teams do when they have that first-round bye, and it hasn't been great. And the Phillies are determined not to let that be an excuse. And so for them to come into this, I actually like the fact they're going to have the inter-squad match, and then they're also going to have a chance for you to work on whatever you need to work on. These guys are professionals. A lot of they're veterans. They know what they need to work on. So rather than giving them this structured plan, hey, here's a time block for you. Come during this time.
If you want to work on the curveball machine there, if you want to see fastballs,
work on whatever you need to work on, because this is a time also to fine tune some things. Maybe there's an area, as you mentioned, maybe it's curveballs, maybe it's, you want to get some bullpen sessions in, whatever it may be. You now get to work on that. Work on those things that you've noticed at the end of the regular season weren't great, because it wasn't a great end to the regular season for the Phillies, but they got through it. They did enough to lock in that number 2 spot. So now take this week to mentally refresh, but physically be able to work on some of the little things that hopefully will help them be ready. So I love that Nick has been like, not only did he play 162 games and
congratulations
make
on that.
history
I know
on that.
To the average fan, nobody really cares about that, but that's
remarkable.
Impressive.
The first time that a Philly has been able to play all 162 games since Jimmy Rollins did it back in 2007. Freddie Galvis had been the most recent Phillies to play all 162, but didn't start all of them. Nick actually started all 162 games. He was a DH in 5 games. He was a right fielder for 157 games, guys.
That's crazy.
And then on top of that, as much as I know Rob was saying, like, this is much like the early days of baseball. You don't really see that as much. It goes to his old school thought process, because it was him, J-Roll, and then prior to that, it was Pete Rose. Rest in peace, Pete Rose. And you don't see that often nowadays. And for Nick Castellanos to cement himself as a player that was able to play every single game. The next closest was Kyle Schwarber with 150, and to have the stats that he did. I know we've talked so much about the progression of Nick this season. To have the last 14 games, he was able to get a hit in 13 of ththose 14. September was his best month. You played 162 games, and you got your best month in the final month of the regular season, splitting 292, 357, 494. And also for him to have had such a stretch he did after May, it's remarkable to see. Like, you didn't need a day off to reset. We always talk about what do these guys need to get right, to figure things out. Nick didn't need a day off, because since May 4th, he hits 30 doubles, 21 homers, and an 804 OPS, and literally got better as the season went on.
Yeah,
so
hell
love
of a
that he's
season from
emerging.
Castellanos. All right, so teams in this current postseason format, since it went to 3 teams, there have been a combined 8 teams that have had first-round byes over these past 2 years. Those teams are a combined 3 and 5 in the divisional series. 2 have reached the championship series. 1 won the World Series. The stinking vampire Astros did it in 2022. And we all remember that one, right?
Yeah.
So it's 3 and 5. It is what it is. That's the reality of the situation. Teams with a first round bye in 2022, 2023 averaged 3.6 runs per game in the postseason compared to the 3.8 runs per game of all postseason teams. Though it is, of course, a lot more difficult to score in the postseason. Not a huge variation there, but the reality is it does affect these teams. Dave Dombrowski has been up close and personal to it in the past. His Tigers had a 6-day layoff between the 2006 ALCS and the World Series. They also had a 5-day layoff between the 2012 ALCS and World Series. They lost both of them. So it is very much on the mind of the Phillies, and there's nothing you can do except hope the bats come out hot and fingers crossed.
Yeah, the reality is it doesn't matter. Like I said, your regular season, getting a first-round bye, or even being a 100-win team. This is the first time in a decade that there was not a single team across Major League Baseball that had over 100 wins. Yeah, and that in itself is crazy because you think of that as a milestone and a number to hit. Well, only 5 teams that won at least 100 regular season games. 5 teams that won at least 100 regular season games failed to advance. And there have been a lot of teams that have been knocked out. Those division winners, all of them, it was a total 3 for 15 aggregate in their best of 5 series. It hasn't been good for teams that have the first round bye, but it also hasn't been good for teams that are over 100 wins. So I know a lot of these goals and things that we all wanted for the Phillies to achieve. The reality is they're under 100 wins, but you get a first round bye. That's not enough. This is actually where the real work begins because we do know baseball is so much about the rhythm and the routine. You're going to have a week without it.
That goes back to last year. Right? The Braves have used it as an excuse, but I do think there's legitimacy to it.
Well, here's the reverse. 3 of the 4 teams that have been in the World Series recently have been wild cards.
Good. Not good. Excuse me. Not good.
So it's but it goes back to what the guys are saying.
Where are the Diamondbacks this year? Oh, sorry.
Well, that's what they get for talking junk. Especially even coming out of last season. I know our own Rich Hoffman had it in the newsletter today, which made me chuckle, which was a great morning read of Diamondbacks, how's it feel to be home?
I'm not going to dance on your grave too much, but
no, because listen, anything could still happen.
As Zach Allen said to the Phillies, here's your link to buy your next Diamondbacks game is spring training.
Yeah. So, exactly.
Sucks to suck.
So, wild cards do typically do well, but anything can happen, guys. Yep. Anything can happen.
Tyler, I know you kind of, I think, disagree with me that there's legitimacy to it. Well, do I have that correct? I don't want to misrepresent you here.
I think that baseball is a routine game. Don't get me wrong. And I don't mean routine about baseball's anything but routine. But
inter-squad scrimmages in October are not routine.
Having reps and having a routine is a real thing. But my thought process about this whole situation is I understand you're not playing, but you have every advantage to set you up to win this series and to win a series quickly. You have your number 1 pitcher on full rest, along with a full complement of your bullpen.
I have no worry about
full rest. You also have to probably face a team's 3 or a 4. Or if you're playing the Mets or the Braves, who the hell knows who you're facing? Because they've used everybody in the last 2 games just to get in.
His arm might fall off by Saturday.
So I understand there's the rest versus rust conversation, but when you are a rested home, got your ace, got your full complement of bullpen. There's no excuses to lose the series. The Astros have proven that multiple years in a row. Just go and win your series. And I know that the numbers dictate
how much cheating was a part of that.
I don't think any in that instance. Yeah, you want to say they cheated in the 17 World Series? Sure, I don't disagree.
Cheaters just don't stop cheating.
But to win 22, I don't think that's the case. But And like I think that
you know of yet.
Everything is set up for the division winner that gets the bye to win the DS, and to hopefully for them, not just the Phillies, but for any of these teams, to do it quickly.
Yeah, so you're going to suck it up, Buttercup. Get out there and play baseball.
I'll be honest, guys. I think another big part of this is typically teams, I mean, over the last few seasons, you look at like the Braves the last couple seasons, teams that the Astros, Dodgers, teams that have come into the playoffs with over 100 wins on this really good hot streak going into the playoffs to then have that first week off and you get the first round bye, and then now you have to reset and pick that back up. I actually feel like, to be honest, had the Phillies first half of the season, if like they flip-flopped and had the barely 500 record they've had since July 1st in the first half of the season and the superhuman second half, I actually think I'd be more concerned about this week off. But I feel like because first of all, they're the only NL team left standing that had a losing record of 4-6 in the last 10 games. We know they've had a lot of ups and downs in the last half of the season. I actually think this is a good rest period of like, took care of business, scrapped out enough to get the number 2 seed, reset, work on some things, and then get back after it, versus having this like high roller coaster or incredible high coming off the season, and then it just drops, and now you have to try to pick right back up where you left off. Because the All-Star break, the London series, to me, in my opinion, were that for the Phillies. Exactly. That was the break for them that really like completely changed everything for their incredible start. So I feel like they already experienced this, and that's why I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'm trying to speak myself into
There's
it, guys.
nothing we can do about it. That's the reality of the situation. We got to hope it doesn't affect them. But, you know, it's something you've done for 6 consecutive months every day, and now you got to take 5 days off and resume right back up at it, and we'll see how they do. Something we got to resume this fall is getting our flu shots. My mom is a nurse, and she will be yelling at me, my wife, and everybody about getting your flu shot this fall. She used to bring it home for us when we were kids and just inject us. And yeah.
Wow.
It was great. I didn't have the convenience of Rite Aid at home. Yeah, nurses can do that. My Dr. Mike used to come into the radio station and shoot me up. He'd jab me. He would track me down and be like, "Get your flu shot." Well, I'm telling you to get your flu shot.
Is any of this legal?
What's that?
Is any of this legal?
I said this is okay.
Yeah. What, nurses don't travel with flu shots?
No.
What are you guys, crazy? What are you, living under a box? Yeah, it's all good. But you should get over to Rite Aid and get your flu shot. It's that time of the year. We're shifting into fall and winter. Kids are in school. The flu is going to be traveling around. So go get it. Don't miss big holiday events like Halloween and Thanksgiving because you came down with the flu. Go talk to your neighborhood friendly pharmacist over at Rite Aid. According to the CDC, flu vaccination can reduce a child's risk of severe life-threatening influenza by 75%. So help protect your family by getting flu shots at Rite Aid today. Flu viruses are constantly changing, according to the CDC. So getting your annual flu shot formulated to help protect you against this year's strain is important. So while you're at the pharmacy, stock up on cough, cold, flu, and allergy essentials. Rite Aid has what you need to get through the flu season. So just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule at riteaid.com. State, age, and health restrictions apply. Ask your Rite Aid pharmacist for more details.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Jamie. That's that old school thinking there. I don't know if that's allowed, but
yes, nurses are allowed to bring a flu shot home for you.
I don't know.
Yeah,
you're just okay. Just walk around,
it's a flu
get injected.
shot. It's nothing.
Okay.
Shady flu shot.
Shady stuff going on over here. But you know where you can go to also get some great treatment? That's with our friends over at Morgenstern Center for Orbital and Facial Plastic Surgery, who have welcomed the Glatt Group to their practice. And with that, they're providing an opportunity to leverage Dr. Glatt's high caliber brand equity and begin an exciting chapter in Dr. Morgenstern's highly respected legacy. It's like the Avengers coming together of all things for orbital and facial plastic surgery and for hair restoration. Because the Glatt Group, who does a tremendous job with their Glatt Hair Restoration by Morgenstern Medical, are going to be able to provide you with a great opportunity to get the service you need and also the information you need, because Glatt Hair Restoration is difficult. They don't make it difficult for you as you are trying to figure out the challenging times of any hair restoration, because it's very stressful trying to figure out what makes most sense for you, which procedures. Listen, for Glatt Hair Restoration, they have a ton of different leading edge treatments for you. They've got Treatments that around prevention and restoration include laser light therapy, PRP and stem cell restoration, hair restoration surgery, topical and oral medications, vitamin supplementation, as well as non-invasive TED treatments. They've got different options for you. They're going to meet with you and give every patient a complimentary one-on-one consultation to figure out the best course of action. And then once they figure out that treatment, then their caring patient advocates are going to work closely with you from that very first phone call all the way through that last follow-up visit to provide you with great care, great service, and make sure you can get the support and you need around prevention and restoration. It is challenging, it's stressful, and they want to make sure that experience is as stress-free as possible. Glatt Hair Restoration is not just about restoration, they're about innovation as well with their breakthrough treatments to change your hair and to change your life. So bald is now optional, guys. If you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, you've got options. You can stay bald. You don't need to, though. And with Glatt Hair, which has the right treatment for you, you can regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started. Again, that's 610-980-4000 to get started with Glatt Hair Restoration.
Yeah, this is the Phillies, PHLY Phillies postseason podcast brought to you by our friends over at acehardwarehomeservices.com. Mickey Durkin in the chat says they do have new technology in baseball. Yes, True. This was in my notes. It's called the Traject Machine. And what it can do is once you get an idea of who you're going to be facing on Thursday and Friday, the Traject Machine can simulate the pitcher's spin rate, velocity, all of it. So Thursday and Friday, Mickey in the chat is correct. They also have the high velocity if you just want to go in and see 98 mile an hour fastballs in a certain area. So they have every opportunity to work and kind of simulate what they're going to see this weekend. So the Traject Machine, if the Phillies win the World Series this year, we'll all bow down at the feet of the Traject Machine and praise it. So yeah. All right. Zach Wheeler. Did he get helped out in the Cy Young race yesterday?
He better
Tyler's
have.
eyes roll in the back of his head.
I was like licking my chops when I saw the news.
All right, so the reality is Chris Sale is going to win it. Like, I'm not arguing against it. What I'm raising is this man's getting screwed. He pitches more than anyone else.
Yeah.
In 2021, he got burned because he threw 47 1/3 more innings than Corbin Burns. And now with Chris Sale possibly missing a wild card series.
Yeah.
This isn't a Chris Sale conversation. This is a innings pitched versus the award conversation. He ends up throwing 22 1/3 more innings than Chris Sale. Just on his heels in most categories. Chris Sale is one of the best strikeout pitchers of all time. Not denying that. Tyler, does he still hold the Ks per nine record? Wasn't it like 15.9 one year?
So I believe
or is it just for lefties that he
held at one point he held the all-time.
I think he did have the all-time
Ks per nine. I don't think he does anymore.
Okay.
But I believe at one point he did I think he did.
Yeah, I think he did too.
He's at 11 for his career.
Yeah, I think one season he was like 15.9 or something. He's wild.
Yeah,
He's wild.
12.9 was his career high.
12.9. Okay.
308 strikeouts.
All right. Chris Sale's phenomenal. He also kind of fell apart a little bit the last 2 weeks of the season. Now, just judging off of national media, Chris Sale has it won. But Zach Wheeler again has made the case of, oh yeah, I'll give you Cy Young numbers and I'll pitch the most. 22 1/3 more innings than Chris Sale is a substantial amount yet again. That's, 2.5 games of a starting pitcher in the regular season. So, if you project Chris Sale making 2.5 more starts when his body's kind of wearing down and he's got back issues, how much are his numbers affected by that? So once again, Zach Wheeler's going to get screwed in this. You can't even call it a screw job. Corbin Burns was the worst screw job. Chris Sale did it. Zach Wheeler's not going to win it, but you can really make the case that more innings pitched outweighs going deeper into games, outweighs a little bit of an uptick in numbers.
Yeah, I mean, 47 innings
That's
or whatever
outrageous.
was not enough. So what's 27?
22 is not going to be enough.
22 is definitely not going to be enough. But for Zach Wheeler, this was the second straight season he was able to pitch over 200 innings with his 2.57 ERA, 224 strikeouts. So 25 starts of 6 innings pitched and 2 earned runs or fewer for Zach Wheeler on the season.
Work.
That is the most by any Major League Baseball pitcher since Jake Arrieta did it. Who?
I don't know that name.
Who won a Cy Young with that season? And Zach.
Never. That name never will be mentioned again here. It was such a disaster.
Greinke had 26 both in 2015. They and for Jake, he did win a Cy Young. But also to have 11 straight starts to end the season where he gave up 2 earned runs or less, the longest streak to end a season since Jake did it back in 2015. So the point is, for Zach Wheeler, he has accomplished some tremendous things. This is what
he's getting screwed again.
He's going to get screwed again. But I have this pet peeve for all sports because I feel like MVP, Cy Young, all these individual awards that they call, it's an individual player award. It doesn't matter what your team does, and it doesn't matter anything for the postseason. And I understand they award that for the regular season. But to me, a big part of being a Cy Young, much like any other MVP or individual award, is to be reliable and to be counted on when your team needs you most. And in my opinion, with your season on the line, and a must-win, a literal one must-win game for the Atlanta Braves.
Had the cowards agreement.
And Chris Sale had back spasms. Not that he controlled getting back spasms, but the reality is when the Phillies needed Zach Wheeler, he was there. When the Braves needed Chris Sale, not only was he not there for that, he might not be able to pitch at all in the wildcard round. So does it come down to one game swaying things for me? Yes. But
as a Phillies fan, absolutely. As a fan of Zach Wheeler, absolutely.
But even more than that, I do think in all actuality, this is never going to change. But what I would love to see happen is these awards you need to take with also into consideration the durability. For Zach to pitch more innings. Yeah, I wish there was an
algorithm with the innings
for him to pitch more innings.
Output.
It's like you play more games in basketball or soccer or football, you don't get
your numbers as a pitcher aren't going to get better over time.
Exactly. So if you can pitch more and still be top across the league in all these different categories, quality starts, 2 or less runs for 25 of your starts, those things need to be factored into consideration too.
Tyler's seething in there.
You pitch. It's just annoying. You pitch less.
No, Tyler's trying to figure out what the heck's going on
you pitch less, you give more stats, but that makes sense to me. Less is more sometimes. You pitch less games, your stats should be a little bit better.
It's the Blake Snell haters out there, used to say, well, he's only going 5 2/3 innings. And it's like, there is an argument to that. The reason I brought up Blake Snell as the example is because our NRD just wrote a stat up there. What does it say, Tyler? Chris Sale.
He's now second all-time in strikeouts per 9 with a 11 point. So this is how close it gets. He's 11.094 for his career. Blake Snell is now first with 11.227.
But I was told he's terrible.
He was terrible to start the year.
That's a shot at some of our commenters.
He was terrible to start the year. There's no doubt about it. But he finished the year.
Came off the IL and was carried my fantasy team.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
Restart the counter. Fantasy baseball's over, and yet
she's still talking about
it.
You finished in 9th place.
I finished in 3rd place.
Oh, congratulations. Second loser.
Yeah.
You didn't even finish first loser.
Yeah. So, all right. So the Zach Wheeler conversation leads us right into yesterday's drama. I was at gymnastics class.
Oh.
I had to pick up Skylar, so I'm walking to school to pick up Skylar. I have my phone watching the game on the back of the stroller while Paige is terrorizing me and throwing water bottles, and so I'm like hooked on this game. I'm walking up to school pickup, got the game on, and then I have to walk home and sprint immediately to gymnastics, get her changed, all that stuff, get snacks, gets water, and I got the game there at gymnastics, and a dad walks up to me and he goes, "Oh, is this the first or the second game?" And I was like, "This is the first one. It's the bottom of the 8th." I was like, "This game is absolutely wild." So it was one of those baseball games where people wanted in on the action, and the drama was high in that first game. And to quote our great Sarah Langs out there with the Wii meter, yesterday's game was absolutely wild. If you're unfamiliar with Sarah Langs, she tweets out "Wee" when the game probability win percentages dip and skyrocket. And yesterday's game was an all-time "Wee" tweet because there it is. The game probability just, that is heart-wrenching.
That's like a death trap roller coaster right there.
Absolutely wild. So that was yesterday's game. Great theater. The Mets win it. Francisco Lindor hits a huge home run. Edwin Diaz throws 1,000,000 pitches. And then the Braves come out and win game 2. Kind of figured that was going to happen. Diamondbacks miss out because of it. But some pretty great theater yesterday. Also gives the Padres and Brewers huge advantages starting today.
Huge.
But for yesterday's TV purposes, it was very entertaining.
It was great TV for everybody in baseball. Like, it was a perfect way, I feel like, to end the season because everybody else was already done. And you get the final 2 games for this doubleheader of not only were they exciting games, but there was so much on the line for each of them and for the Diamondbacks. There were so many different scenarios that could happen. And so with that, the Braves do continue their active streak. They're actually the 5th. They got the 5th highest consecutive postseason streak going. The Dodgers are at 12 actively. The Astros are at 8 actively. The Braves are at 7. And then the 2 prior to them are the Yankees with 13 and the Braves with 14. Back in their late 90s to early 2000s. But the Mets made a lot of history yesterday with the way that they were able to squeeze out game 1. Now, the Mets started off the season 0-5.
I believe my buddy's quote was, "I am unwell."
Yeah, they should be unwell. And here's why.
The win.
So the Mets started off the season 0-5. They became the 4th team to start the season 0-5 or worse and make the playoffs. The most recent was back in 2011. Tampa Bay did it. And then also for the Mets, they were 0-47 on the season when trailing by 3 or more runs in the 8th or later this season. They had lost 77 straight games where they were trailing by 3 or more runs, dating back to May of 2023. This is I can't take credit for this at all, for this stat. I believe this was actually Sarah Langs that put this one out. And so they snapped that streak yesterday.
Jason Stark was also tweeting up an oddity storm.
Yeah, there were so many stats and like history so much history that came out of that. And then so they snapped that streak yesterday, and then also they became the 2nd team to clinch a postseason berth, where they're trailing heading into the 8th, took a lead or tied, then fell behind again. Like this actual game has only happened one other time, where you're trailing, you tie or take the lead, you trail again, you retake the lead in the 9th, all from the 8th and 9th inning. The last time that happened, guys, 1903.
Wow.
Don't you remember those days? September 18th,
when Fort Chapo Hallahan was leading the middle of the order.
It was the Pirates and it was the Boston Bean Eaters.
Tungsten Arm O'Doyle. What a year.
The Boston Bean Eaters, who are now the Braves, and the Pirates in a doubleheader where it was literally from the 8th to 9th, that same back and forth. So this doesn't even happen. And that team actually went to the World Series afterwards. But this does not happen in baseball, especially to clinch a postseason, to move forward in the postseason, to be down in the 8th and have that up and down. So it was just insane.
I think Johnny Dickshot was on that 1903 team that collapsed there.
And then also Luis Severino does actually make some history as the 4th pitcher to start a postseason game for both the Mets and the Yankees. So,
I wonder if Jack Glasscock was in that game. These are real baseball names, Tyler. I'm not making anything up here.
Okay.
John Malarkey. Who's the?
Are you looking up? Are you actually looking up?
Yes, I'm looking up funny old turn of the century baseball names.
Why don't you just look at the actual team?
Old Haas Rathborn. Oh, why don't you
Haas Rathborn is a real legit guy. No doubt.
Yeah, so is Johnny Glasscock. Look him up. He's got a baseball reference page and everything.
All right, here's some of the names. So the Boston Bean Eaters in 1903 were led by John Malarkey,
John Malarkey was on that team.
Wiley Piatt, Togi Pittenger, Pop Williams, and Vic Willis were their pitchers. Their catchers, Malachi Kittredge. I don't know if these are all individual names or not. Malachi Kittredge, Pat Moran.
That sounds like somebody that's going to get dysentery.
Here it gets better. I didn't ask his name. Ed Abaticchio. Chubb Aubrey. Good old Chubb. Frank Bonner, not to be confused for Boner, and Ed Greminger.
So Old Haas Radborn in 1884 went 60-12. made 73 starts
through
73 complete games.
73 starts.
Through 678 and 2/3 innings. Struck out 441. Faced 2,672 batters. And somehow posted a sub-1 whip.
My favorite name
were
from
just
this,
discovering hitting, Tyler. They didn't know what they were doing yet.
Just
my
going up
favorite
there with their
name
bare
for
hand
this.
and slapping at it.
Al Buckenberger was the manager.
Oh, I love the Al Buckenberger's career.
And Duff Cooley.
Oh,
That's a cool
Duff
name.
Cooley.
That's a cool name.
Duff sounds like a guy you want to get
that's a cool one. I like
with.
it.
Duff man.
Good old Duff Cooley.
Yeah, so pretty
What a
wild
time
stuff
for bean
yesterday.
eaters.
We'll get into today's game, but as we're running out of time here, I want to make sure we get to everything. And that's going to take us to our Future is Bright segment. With a couple days off here, wanted to talk about last week, the Paul Owens Award winners getting to be in that stadium and experience what's going on. And, of course, the future is bright. Do we still have our prop sets down there, Renee? I don't know if our Shady Rays are still down there.
They're not your sunglasses?
No, those are not.
Have I been
but let's
lied
put on
to?
our rose-colored
PHLY,
sunglasses.
I'll give you
they're the studio pairs.
PHLY Shady Rays.
And we'll talk about the future being bright. Brought to you by Shady Rays. Head over to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Yes, I thought it was very cool. The double glasses always makes me feel like that one meme where he's just taking off glasses. It was very cool to see Justin Crawford and Iverson Castellanos in the stadium last week, getting interviewed by the guys, getting to see firsthand. Look, when you play minor league baseball for a full year, you kind of forget, not that you forget what you're working for, but you forget the environment you're playing in. You just kind of get used to it. To come into a Citizens Bank Park at the end of the year on the doorstep of the playoffs, to see both of them say, I want to be here next year. That's my goal. I want to be down in that dugout or on that field. Very cool stuff for the both of them. And then we'll talk about the guys that are heading to the Arizona Fall League.
Yeah, I love that moment for them. And I love the fact that you had a chance to hear from them directly and hear about their journeys, their experience, their season. And they both spoke so well for Castellanos and for Crawford. We had already had a chance to catch up with Justin Crawford back in spring training and had an idea of how mature he is for such a young talent. And Iverson Castellanos, who has a tremendous name, first of all, but also just really emerged this season. It was great to hear their growth and development and also to see how they were just kind of taking in the moment and looking ahead to what's next for them. So now to have this opportunity, what's next short term is for the Arizona Fall League, which begins October 7th. And going to be a great opportunity for some more Philly representation. Yeah,
a lot of Lehigh Valley's heading out to the Arizona Fall League, and that'll be something to pay attention to if you're a real sicko over the offseason here. But some names heading out to the Arizona Fall League include Gabriel Rincones Jr., Jordan Disson, Christian McGowan, Wesley Moore, Otto Kempt, Tristan Garnett. They're going to play for the Glendale Desert Dogs in the AFL, which, as you said, starts October 7th. Some other members of the Phillies organization also making the journey out. Brian Rincon, Wenhu Pan, and Griff McGarry, who needs to correct a lot of stuff. So the more work he can get, the better. But some names to pay attention to in the Arizona Fall League this year for the future is bright on the Phillies farm system.
Yeah, and I love these opportunities. I know it was dropped that 73 of the players that are playing in the Arizona Fall League played in the Major League Baseball inaugural spring breakout back in March. 10 of them were on the All-Star Futures Game rosters in July. So they're getting these opportunities for these young talents to really be able to be on a big stage and put their their talents out there and show what they can do, and also gives them something extra to work towards, So I think this is a fantastic opportunity. And also just looking at some of the names, there's been 3,000 big leaguers that have gone through the AFL since the league began back in 92, when some of us may have been born or may not have been born.
I was born in 92. It's me. It's me, the guy born in 92.
It's a great list. I mean, most recently,
it's guys
like... Most recently, it's guys like Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts, Francisco Lindor that went through it. Doc, Derek Jeter. You had Todd Helton, Mike Piazza, like so many names that have come through those the ranks of the Arizona Fall League, and now they get to see the most recent. Yeah,
so the future's bright. We'll be keeping you up to date on these guys throughout the offseason.
I think the two guys in particular that this really is going to help benefit is Rincon and Rincones. The two combined for like 115 games this year. They missed a substantial amount of time. One had a hamstring. The other one had a thumb ligament issue. It's great to get them some extra work because, they're still coming back from injury. I think those two guys in particular, this will be a really beneficial fall league for.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And, we'll keep you abreast of the situation throughout the offseason. But just wanted to give those guys a little love before the playoffs start and we all get lost in Red October and it dictates our lives and all of that stuff. If you do have the fever, I know some people around town really love the Phillies hype bus tour that goes around. They have some alumni players on there. If I had to guess, Mickey Morandini, maybe Juan Samuel, maybe some of the old timers on there. But the bus tour is tomorrow. So if anybody wanted to catch that, they usually throw out some beads and other sorts of things. It starts at the Comcast Center downtown at 17th and JFK Boulevard at 11:30 a.m. It makes its way to a Citizens Bank at 18th and Market at 1:15. At 1:30, it's stopping by City Hall. 3 o'clock out my way in the boonies in Conshohocken. They'll be on Fayette Street in downtown Conshohocken. And then at 5 o'clock, heading to Veterans Square in Media. So if you wanted to catch the hype bus and get caught up in the postseason magic, there's your bus schedule.
Yeah, it's a great week of activities. As you talk about that double-decker bus, it's going to be going around with the Philly Fanatic,
and the Towels,
the Philly Ball Girls, former players. They'll have a whole bunch of sponsors involved and giveaways. Rally towels, cheer cards, beads, a bunch of different things. There's the Red October Rally that's going to be happening at Chickies and Pete's tomorrow. Then there's a block party at Garage Fishtown on Friday.
Oh, with the daycare
where it's
mural.
got the brand new Phillies daycare mural, and they've got the Rally for Red October bus will be there as well. So that's like the final stop before the NLDS.
Yeah, there it is.
Perfect, Tyler. There is the beautiful daycare mural that's at Garage and Fishtown, and that's where the final stop will be. That is so good.
Yeah, it was like really
so good. So love that. That is the artist from Philly, Gloss Black, who created. The mural is Jimmy McMenamin.
Oh, that's
he's the artist from Gloss
Gotcha.
Black.
Great Irish name there.
Words.
Jimmy McMenamin.
Yeah.
Nice work on that. All right.
Well done.
So the playoffs do start today, Renee. We talked about it. The Brewers and Padres got substantial advantages in this series. The Mets, and Braves both got to get on planes and travel.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah, it does. The Mets are going with Severino versus Peralta today for the Brewers. I'm going to give the Brewers a win in this. I'm probably going to bet them. As that game actually starts pretty soon. I got to run over to Bet365 and get a bet in. I believe that is was that 12:30? I don't have the time in front of me right this second. I believe it starts at either 12:15 or 12:30. So I like the Brewers today. The next game after that is Tigers Astros. Tyler, your man Tarek Skubal is an underdog today.
That's not a surprise. I mean, the Astros are the better team.
Does that entice you to want to bet on the Tigers as an underdog?
I think it might a little bit. I think the Astros are going to win this series. But I think that the only issue that I would see is you have I think there's a lot of pressure on Tarek Skubal to win this game because it could get out of hand quickly. Because after that, the rotation's been decent, but he's their workhorse.
His level, yeah.
He won the Triple Crown in the American League this year. It's very rare to see a Triple Crown winner. You got two in Major League Baseball this year, which is nuts.
So they're actually the first game today.
I was going to say
2:30, not 12:30. But yeah, they're the first one.
I think I would probably stay away from this game, but if I were to bet on this game, I think I might lean with Skubal just to see what he provides.
Give me the best pitcher in baseball, perhaps, as an underdog.
I would probably stay away from it, though.
I'm going Tigers win today in that 2:32 start. I think I don't actually know.
And then 4 o'clock is Royals-Orioles. So the AL teams, because the teams had to travel, I'm sure they said NL teams get the later games here.
If I'm picking a road dog to win in the American League, I'm taking Kansas City. I think Detroit is not going.
That is Cole Reagans versus Corbin Burns.
I was going to say, I feel like the Orioles win this one.
Today, I think the Orioles lean on pitching. One. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corbin Burns, who stole the Cy Young from Zach Wheeler in 2021 with 47 less innings pitched. I mean, No big deal, right? And then the 5:30 game is Mets-Brewers. We talked about that. Severino versus Peralta. Brewers. I'll take Peralta in this one on Bet365. And then the night game, 8:30 tonight. It looks like Schwarber is going to be the starting pitcher, I believe. That sounded weird in my head. I overemphasized the A in Schwarber. I believe he's going to be the starting pitcher.
Schwarber.
AJ
Smith, Schwarber.
Ver.
Schwarber.
I don't know who you were asking.
No B.
Schwarber.
No B.
Schwarber. It looks like he's probably going to go for the Braves versus Michael King, who had a phenomenal year for the Padres. That's at 8:30 tonight.
All right. As we wrap up, I'm going to go Tigers, Orioles, Brewers, Padres win game 1.
Samsonite. Swami.
Okay. Wrap it up.
I will go Tigers, Orioles, Brewers, Padres. I think the Braves and the Mets are at substantial disadvantages. I think we're pretty much lockstep.
Yeah.
I'm taking Schoolboy as an underdog. Agree with you there. I think the Orioles get it done with Corbin Burns. And then the other two, I just think are playing shorthanded. To everybody that hung out with us today in the chat, especially, love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's officially Red October. Going to be an exciting week ahead. Really looking forward to it. And we will be doing post-game shows after all playoff games. So excited to be with you for
pre-game and post-game.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Forgot about that. For Tyler Zulli, Renee Washington, I'm Jamie Lynch. Have a great rest of the Tuesday, everyone. See you then.
We all silly like the mayor.